What's your vision for how that evolves over the next few years?
Well, like I said, I can't emphasize enough that we're just going to hit constraints on electricity production and transmission en masse across the board. So that's why I'm like, I know obviously it takes time to plan for and permit and build a new power generation plant, but that's why I'm encouraging everyone to start now. I'm not sure what your plans are for future electricity demand, but it's going to be, I'm pretty sure it's going to be much higher than what you currently think. Electricity demand is going to be, well, I mean, necessarily must be 3 times what it is today in order for us to have a sustainable energy future. And I think the average power usage per person is going to increase a fair bit. I mean, an interesting thing to consider is like total power used by humans on average over time. And you say like, you go from not that long ago when the best we could do was kind of make a campfire. So you say, and I'm talking like electricity and thermal energy per human was extremely tiny if you even go back 200 years. We literally had to, burn wood or coal locally to gain heat. There was no electricity. And even if you take all the steam engines and everything and divide that by total number of humans, power usage per human, thermal, electrical, or otherwise, was minuscule 200 years ago, and even less 300 years ago. Now it is incredibly high, and it is rising. And this is, and you're going to see, I think, a lot of electricity usage by the sort of neural net data centers as well. Those are heavy power draws. In fact, I think one of the scaling constraints for AI is going to be power availability. That they are quite power hungry. So you've got basically average energy usage per person increasing dramatically, and a transition from burning hydrocarbons to things that are more sustainable. Anyway, the point is it's going to be 3x current, and I think that 3x number is probably happens around 2045-ish. So this is the thing about exponential growth is it really is counterintuitive, and will, actually exponentials tend to be kind of sort of underestimated. Just
there's a long tradition of that. It's cell phones, other technologies that humans have not been able to see escalating. This brings up a different question area around some of the other places where electrification is going to play a role. So we spent a long time talking about cars, but building electrification may be another important tool to help reduce emissions over time. Again, California, different from other states, but we think that we're going to see something like 30% of all buildings needing heat pumps to get to the 2030 targets that the state has, 90% by 2045. How much focus are you putting on the building side of electrification right now, and is that a place where you think Tesla might go?
Well, I mean, we have the Powerwall, but that's somewhat more of a
supports it.
Yeah, that's like for homes, homes and small businesses. It's Powerwall. We would certainly appreciate support from utilities with bringing Powerwalls online. And one of the selling points of a Powerwall is to give the homes like some amount of protection against brownout, blackout type of thing. But sometimes we do get some pushback from utilities about enabling a sort of cutoff switch, because if you don't cut off power to the grid, if the grid loses power, then it's pointless. You just end up, say, if you end up pushing electricity back onto the grid, and it's kind of pointless. It doesn't work. So we would appreciate some support in approving and installing the backup switch, which really just enables homeowners to have power if for whatever reason the grid's down for some reason. But I mean, it can be pretty helpful. And then, like I said, the Powerwalls, operating collectively can help to stabilize the grid in a particular neighborhood. I do think like local power generation, basically rooftop solar, and with an accompanying battery pack is a helpful part of solving the energy problem, because there's a lot of neighborhoods where it's hard to get incremental power to that neighborhood. Like, because you need like more substations, you need more, overhead wires, and then, in a lot of places that can be extremely difficult to achieve. Because just from opposition from people not wanting additional electricity wires overhead and not wanting to expand substations. So it's sort of a solution to this is where local solar and local storage helps alleviate some very thorny situations where you just can't. It's extremely difficult to get more power to that neighborhood. So a little bit of local power generation is pretty helpful.
Well, one other touch point you've had with our sector has been the work that you're doing here in Texas, where, as I understand it, you announced an energy retail business with a subscription program, right? That allows Powerwall customers to, I think it's a $30 monthly flat fee.
I mean, we're trying different experiments.
Yeah.
So we don't know what actually makes sense, but we're trying different experiments to see what might work. So yeah, for sure, trying to figure out, like, can Powerwalls all working together help stabilize the grid, which they can. We've actually done that many times now. And then of course our mega pack, which is great at the sort of utility or heavy industry level. Yeah, it seems, we're just trying to, like I said, help foster a sustainable energy future, and it's going to take many different technology solutions in different arenas to solve this kind of tripling of electricity demand and provision problem.
Well, let me shift topics a little bit. And you mentioned AI earlier in the context of being one of those drivers of electricity load increases. But you've also been pretty outspoken about both the potential and the risks of AI. I think a number of us are moving really quickly right now with use cases and how we use it. I'll give you one example. At Edison, last year, we did almost 200,000 asset inspections in high wildfire risk areas using drones. Just generating terabytes of data, great ability to capture images all around. There's no way humans could process all those images, so we've been using an AI-enabled tool to down-select the images that we're going to look at. We're looking at other use cases right now, but we recognize there's risk too. So I'd love your thoughts about, broadly across industry, and then if you think about our sector, how should we be thinking about AI from your perspective, and both the opportunities and the risks there?
Well, I mean, I've had many sleepless nights thinking about AI. So I am worried about AI on the downside. AI is just it's sort of a technology like nuclear. It's extremely powerful, but it could get out of hand. So I have been struggling with this question for a long time of what to do to mitigate AI existential risk. I've had a number of conversations with world leaders, including very senior people in China and around the world, Europe. I'm actually heading to Europe tomorrow to have some AI safety conversations with some of the country leaders there. Is because I think this is the kind of thing where the world needs to work together on AI safety. It's a really big deal. I can't emphasize this enough. So I was somewhat encouraged by China's willingness to engage in AI regulation. And I did point out that if you get some digital superintelligence, it might be in charge of China instead of you.
A little off script here, but as you think about U.S.-China relationship and how it helps navigate or hurts, and as we try to navigate, whether it's AI, whether it's frankly competitiveness for your products, both in the U.S. and Chinese markets, how are you thinking about how that evolves and what's the end game here in terms of being able to work at both markets?
I don't know what the end game is, but I can say the mid game is going to be spicy.
Have you, with your operations in China, do you feel like you've enjoyed good support, and are you comfortable with
Yeah.
intellectual property?
Yeah, we've actually gotten very good support in China. Tesla has the only fully foreign-owned car factory in China.
Mhm.
And we do very well in the domestic market in China. And our Shanghai factory is our highest performing factory globally. So it's a very impressive team that Tesla has in China. And the work ethic there is incredible. So, I think it's going to be an interesting future. We are entering a phase where U.S. will not be the biggest economy in the world.
And they've had a significant investment focus in electric vehicles.
Yes. China is actually, of any large country, the most forward-leaning with sustainable energy. So they have massive solar projects, wind projects, and have done the most with respect to electric vehicles of any large country. Of smaller countries, Norway is the leader, but for any very large economy, China is by far the most forward-leaning for sustainability.
Well, let me pull up from Tesla, and you do have a few other places where you spend your time.
Yeah.
Again, I mentioned in introducing you, but SpaceX, Twitter, boring company, Neuralink, which is really exciting. Joking aside, you're making a personal choice to spend time across these. Is there a common thread in terms of mission across all of these? And what excites you most about your portfolio?
Well, I mean, the aspiration with these various things is to maximize the probability that the future is good for civilization. So it's the future is just a set of probabilities. Like we don't know, for sure what's going to happen. But to the degree we can shift the probabilities towards a positive future for civilization, I think we want to do that. I think we want to keep it going and keep advancing civilization. So I think we should try to expand the scope and scale of consciousness such that we are better able to understand the universe and our place in it. So I would call, my philosophy a philosophy of curiosity. And while we will all die as individuals, civilization can continue, in theory, for a very, very long time, millions of years or more. So we should try to make sure that happens. So these various things that I'm doing are trying to shift the probability of future being good. Now, I hope it may turn out that some of these things, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So hopefully, those good intentions do not translate to something bad. But I think the road to hell is mostly paved by bad intentions. Once in a while, there's a good intention paving stone in there. But the intent is to maximize the probability the future is good for civilization. So in the case of, say, Neuralink, it's like, well, how does that affect things? It's like, well, if we are to link the sort of the path of the AI to human will, then what could act to impair that linkage? And we're getting pretty esoteric here, but one of the issues is the bandwidth between your cortex and your computer or your AI, the AI extension of yourself. And if that bandwidth is too low, then the computer will simply be bored. You will, as bandwidth gets very low, you effectively have a very thin straw between yourself and the AI extension of yourself. Now we are already cyborgs when you think about the fact that your phone and your computer are an extension of yourself.
Mhm.
And probably, I think most people, if you forget your phone somewhere, it's like having missing limb syndrome, you
Yes.
know?
Starting with you don't know anybody's phone number anymore.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. I had this like nightmare, like where I was stuck at a party and someone else had taken my phone, and so I had their phone, but I couldn't use it. And and then they were like, "So, who should we call?" I'm like, "I don't know anyone's number."
So Neuralink.
So you don't even know who to call. Or how do you? It must happen a lot. It's like you don't know anyone's number, and they've got your phone, and you can't call whatever an Uber or anything, and you're just stuck.
So I like that idea of increasing the bandwidth between the computer assistant and the brain, but apparently we also need a safety lock to make sure we don't lose the computer in the process. Elon, this has been terrific, and I hope that it's not another 8 years before we see you here. Appreciate all the efforts you have, and frankly, the sentiment you provided around trying to improve humanity. Everybody, let's thank Elon very much.
All right, thanks, guys.